So let's talk and look a little bit more at full body pleasure. And in the last few videos, I've been talking about full body pleasure, and specifically I've been saying like how natural it is for us to feel full body pleasure, and that this is like basically our natural and normal state to be in. And maybe you're sitting there and thinking, yeah, but I don't feel full body pleasure. What is she on about? What's she talking about? Like, most people I know don't. So how can this be correct, what she's saying, you know? And I totally understand why you're saying this, because I used to experience my body in a really, really different way than I do now. So, you know, I think the first question that we all need to ask ourselves is, how much are we actually in our bodies? Now, in the past, you know, it wasn't even that I was up in my head. I was way floating up there above my head, just not even in my body at all, you know, not even experiencing my body. And, you know, I was so disembodied. I didn't feel anything in my body except bad feelings, which was basically my body screaming at me, going, come back down, you know. And in my vagina, I felt practically nothing at all from sex. And, you know, the fact is that when our body is like in a state of trauma, when we've experienced a lot of trauma, it's a bit like, you know, if our house gets a big mess and then we go away and then we come back and it's like rats and mice everywhere, maybe even like a fox has come inside. We're like, oh, these little animals have been making a mess everywhere. This is not nice. It's not a place I want to be. And this is kind of what happens to our body when we get traumatized. It just becomes like an unpleasant place for us to live. And so we can often just disassociate and float up above our heads, or just spend our whole time like in our heads, just going round and round and round, you know, and just missing out on our bodies. So of course we're not going to experience full body pleasure. We're not even going to have a nice experience of our body if we're not inside of our bodies, you know. Now, the process of coming back into our bodies, it's the process of healing. It's the process of going through these traumas, going through these things and clearing them out. Now, my way of doing it is to actually come, this is the Taoist way, is to come with our intention, shutting our eyes, looking into the body and feeling in the body, and going around finding these traumas and saying to them and asking them, what do you have to tell me? Thank you. You can leave now. This is what I do when I have a pain in my body, anything I feel. If I don't like it, some energy, I take it as a message and I go and I say to the messenger, what do you want? What are you telling me? Thank you. You can leave now. You know? And if we want to get more technical, looking at things, people talk about blockages, energy blockages, and I think most people are just confused by this term, energy blockages. You know, what does it mean? Well, you know, I could have like a stiff shoulder and I could say, oh, my shoulder's stiff, the muscles are tense and so on. But I could also look at it on the energetic level and say, I've got an energy block in my shoulder or in my stomach, my sexual organs, my leg, my hip, anywhere we can have an energy block. And we say, like, you know, if we look at it on in the tantric way, we'll say an emotion is stuck there, you know. So maybe an emotion in my shoulder, it might be that I have too much pressure on me and the emotion got stuck there. You know, it could be like something in the heart, like maybe something hurting, some pain, maybe some guilt and shame around the lower abdomen and pubic area and so on. But emotions can get stuck anywhere, and when they get stuck inside the body, it causes tension, because what happens is the actual tissues hold on, you know. So usually where we have a blockage, we're actually going to feel something. Maybe it's a pain, a sharp pain, maybe it's a dull ache, something that just doesn't feel right. If we come into our bodies and are really, really present in our bodies, we can notice where these blockages that later then turn into dis-ease and sickness and make us sick, basically, where they're starting. And we can go and talk to them, as I said, as a messenger, and say, what are you doing? And thank them, and then ask them to leave, you know. Because these pains, they are actually just messages asking us to do something. So in terms of our sexual pleasure, now, if we want the sexual energy to completely travel through our bodies, we need to be relaxed and we need to be breathing properly. It's that simple. It might sound really simple, but sometimes we need to do work to get there. I mean, I certainly needed to do work. You know, I did a lot of Taoist meditation, a lot of meditations like what I talked about, going to these parts of my body where the energy was stuck and really confronting what was there and releasing it through breath, through sound, through movement, and also using the microcosmic orbit, which is just like an absolutely amazing way to start moving our energy and getting stuff unstuck. Like, it's really like one of the most magical like hacks and shortcuts to getting your body like nice and sort of like full of energy and full of pleasure energy. But I remember like I started going through this like transformation, and suddenly, like, first of all, I just noticed my pussy had just gone suddenly really feeling nice and really sensitive, whereas before I didn't even realize it had been completely numb until it actually started feeling really nice, you know. But then suddenly I started realizing, oh my God, like my whole back feels like a pussy. It's so sensitive. I can just orgasm from someone touching my back. Like, what's going on? What's happening? And I realized it was these Taoist practices that I was doing while I was meditating and bringing my microcosmic energy, which was taking the energy from my pussy up the spine and up into my shoulders. And it was feeding this lovely, yummy sexual energy all into my shoulders, into my head, and all over my body, basically. So sometimes, yeah, we need to go in, you know, to really be able to experience our pleasure capacity in our bodies. We need to go in and we need to basically like start clearing out the stuff that's blocking us. We need to come into our bodies and we need to stop hiding away from our past. And as difficult as this is, and trust me, it can be really difficult. I mean, when I first started going through this, it was like, you know, I was confronting these memories from decades before that were just not nice things to confront, but really it was so liberating because these energies were just coming out of my body like smoke, and my body was just completely changing, you know. And I've explained how I do it. There's other ways of doing this as well, but the point is coming back into our bodies and really taking them on as our space, you know. And it's not about being completely clear of traumas, it's not about being perfect, it's not about being enlightened, but it's about being in our bodies and working on these processes. Because when we've got so much pain that we're disassociating from the pain, our bodies will also be numb to pleasure. And that's why it's so important to start doing this personal work. And when we're doing this personal work, that's when we can really open up to experience pleasure.